We have an Apollo Hydroheat water heater that needs to be replaced. We would like to have an expert opinion on good replacement options, such as get the same type of Apollo again, replace with a Tankless, or other.etc. There are 4 people in the home and the square footage is 2,500 square feet.
Your best option in the long run, if you plan on staying there 10 years or more, is to install a real heating boiler, not a water heater shoehorned into a space heating application. The initial cost of a heating boiler will be higher, but the performance and reliability over the life of the system will far exceed that of a water heater for space heating, particularly in a home of this size. The Apollo system and others like it are the cheap way out for a developer. My personal choice would be a Burnham PVG boiler. http://pro.useboiler.net/pdf/pvgscg_spec.pdf with an indirect fired water heater. If you don't want the expense of installing a heating boiler, then a tankless water heater is another option, but not what I would recommend. The config you have now would be last on my list, both because of operating cost and the longevity of the tank.
Cost is a factor for us, and we may not be in this home for 10 more years. However, what pros and cons exist for the tankless water heater?
The biggest con is that these units are not designed for space heating, so they must be installed by a plumber familiar with this out-of-design application. Also, only certain models can be used in this application, so care must be taken to choose the right model, also a job for a competent pro. Tankless heaters will be more fuel cost-effective to operate, but can they have higher maintenance costs since it's a more complex piece of equipment? Here again, choosing the right plumber, who can also service your unit, is key and much more important than you choosing the right product ahead of time. Another consideration is the water design temp of your existing system. If it is above 140, then this will further limit your options with a tankless. If you can't find a competent local plumber for the tankless install and you don't want to spend $6,000 to $7,000 for a boiler install, then go with the most energy efficient water heater you can get locally. I would stick with Bradford White or Al Smith and avoid the other brands. State is okay too.
The Apollo that needs replacing is manufacturing by State. They also manufacturing a tankless. We definitely cannot afford $6,000, $7,000.
State was bought out by Al Smith several years ago. Any tank-type water heater can do what your Apollo does. I don't know where you live, but here in the Boston area, replacing a water heater of this size, including the extra heat piping, generally will run $2,500, $3,000. A tankless is in the same ballpark but costs less to operate. There's nothing wrong with the quality of your water heater. State was and is a first-rate company. It's the low operating efficiency that I would not recommend.
We are in Raleigh, North Carolina, and leaning toward the tankless option. However, one plumber suggested going with the same type we have and adding an expansion tank. Not sure that is the correct terminology, and also performing better routine maintenance, which was not done as it should have been. The tank lasted us about 8 years.
All the expansion tank does is prevent too much pressure from building up in the tank to the point where the relief valve will discharge. It serves no other purpose. 8 years is about all you can expect from a tank used in this application, even if you flush the tank out periodically. Every time the burner comes on, it stresses the tank. Since you use this for space heating too, the burner is coming on more often than normal. Normal life expectancy of any gas-fired water heater used just for DHW, domestic hot water, not space heating, is 8 to 10 years. Since you're leaning tankless, shop around for a good plumber who is familiar with this application. If you can't find one, then your current config is probably the better option.
Thanks, your comments will be helpful in our decision process.
You're welcome. Thanks for using JustAnswer.
If you have a home improvement or appliance question and want to chat with an expert now, visit justanswer.com/YTHI.